Hi, I'm Morgan.
And I'm Jake, and this is
Neverland
Neverland Navigation
Navigation
Radio,
Radio.
where we
Pressure's on. Get immersed. Is that not what you said last time?
yeah. I would say we're getting even more immersed
Oh, yeah.
because now we're going into kind of the top
The
half.
top of our list.
Yeah, so if you didn't join us for last week's episode, we began discussing the most and the least,
A little.
just touching upon the least, mostly the most immersive lands in the theme parks here at Walt Disney World Resort. So
Yeah.
if you want to take a listen to that episode first and catch yourself up on the bottom half of kind of our list, then once you listen to this one, you can get a feel for the lands that we appreciate as maybe being the most immersive.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
Can I throw in like an honorable mention because it's not there anymore? How do you feel about that? Is that allowed?
I feel like it's at least worth discussing at the beginning of the podcast.
I want to like play by the rules and everything.
Sure.
Okay, all right. My honorable mention is the Streets of America, but not in that like necessarily you feel like you're in that city, although you do, but like you feel like you're in a movie set.
Yes, it definitely,
that whole area back there.
Yeah, it did exactly what it was supposed to, and it captured that. It's such a unique, feeling to have like these big buildings that are just facades.
Yeah.
And the windows are all decorated and the huge cutout backdrop of.
And from some places you can see the back of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like scaffolding.
Even that coffee shop at the front of the Streets of America section was like supposed to look like an on-set coffee shop. You know what I mean? Like a Hollywood.
Right.
What was it called? It was an artist or something. I don't remember, but like.
I don't remember either.
It really fit the theme.
Yeah. I loved it over there.
Yeah.
And when they would light it up for the Osborne family spectacle of dancing lights.
Yeah, then you were immersed in Christmas.
Right. Well, yeah, truly 360 Christmas.
Truly as much immersed in Christmas as you could possibly be with the lights everywhere, the music everywhere, and the snow.
Right.
Yeah. For me, that was where I wanted to be. That was the Christmas immersion.
Yeah, hard to beat.
Yeah.
While we're throwing shout outs into the air, I guess we should give a shout out to probably, by a lot of people's definition, one of the most immersive lands built in recent memory, which is the Cars Land over at
Disneyland,
yeah. Which, the home of Radiator Springs Racers.
Absolutely.
Which is the same technology as Test Track, but the entire experience is this kind of larger than life Cars adventure.
Yeah. That whole area is it's got all the details. They went all out to make it so that that's where you are. You are in that movie. Yeah, I really like it over there, and I'm not even that big of a Cars the movie fan.
Ka-chow.
Yeah.
I like the idea of the way that they approach holidays at Cars Land. I've seen a lot of content showing all of the different cute little decorations and touches.
I would say that Cars Land in Disneyland is one of the best places in Disneyland to be for Christmas stuff.
And that's from our resident Christmas aficionado, Morgan, so you know it's true. All right, well, now that we've got some honorable mentions out of the way, I think it's time to dive back in.
Yeah.
We most recently discussed Liberty Square and its
and Dino
River and Dino Land USA.
He wants to forget.
And it's
I say it's immersive.
Well, Disney's already knocking down half the land.
That doesn't mean it wasn't immersive.
Yeah. What's the opposite of immersive? Being bulldozed, definitely, for sure.
All right.
Well, I guess I'll hold my breath until that's a Moana or something, whatever they're doing over there.
Yeah, Moana Zootopia mashup, I guess.
Yeah, what a weird mashup.
Yep.
All right. Well, would you like to make another entry onto the list?
Sure.
All right.
One of my favorite, and this is my favorite Animal Kingdom area is Animal Kingdom Asia.
Oh, Asia's on my list as well.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yes, I'd love to hear about what makes it so immersive.
Oh man. Okay. So Everest being kind of the backdrop there, I obsessively love the kind of like string lights that you feel like you would actually see in small towns. Yes. You know what I mean? It's got like a maybe a small town Asian feel. And I love the detail put into it. I'm sure you'll get into the whole Joe Rody situation, right?
I can.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, that's, I mean, I could sit back there at night with the string lights on, with Everest in the background, and of course it's all lit up,
It is
and
so
I could
pretty at
just sit
night.
back there for hours.
Yeah. I I think night is such a beautiful, unique experience in that Asia
Hmm.
section of the park because with Everest lit up and with all of those lights that you're talking about and seeing the flags
Yeah,
and the light, it's just so pretty over there. The Asia land, um, I think, is some of the most authentic theming. You know,
yes,
because Disney always, well, most of the time, goes really big and bold with theming, whether it's fantastical and imagined or if it's meant to be kind of a more realistic tribute to culture or whatever. And Asia feels so culturally like respective, but also like so realistic. When you walk around and you're looking at all the posters and the like art that's been painted on the walls and all of that,
yeah,
all of the details are so incredible, and they all of those little things really add up to painting this whole picture of like you're talking about, like a small tourist town in Asia. And there's so many details that I love. But one of the things that I think really sells the idea of it is the size of the land. It feels huge over there
it
in
does.
the Asia section.
Yeah,
When you're walking in, and obviously you've got Everest looming larger than ever in the background, but then I don't know, ever since they built that stadium seating for Rivers of Light, it just feels like this big, empty, abandoned kind of stadium thing sitting around this huge body of water with
right.
Everest across. You feel like you're in your own,
Yeah.
different part of the world or something. It's very strange, but it's definitely a unique and authentic experience.
Yeah, all of the details just blow me away. So, do you know how long they went over there? So, Joe Rody he's the one that imagined this, well, Everest
Yes.
and that whole area, right?
Yeah, Joe Rody was the Imagineer who was kind of the creative force that took charge of Animal Kingdom and then the later Asia and Pandora expansions to the park. Um, the research that they did, not only in terms of research on the mythology that they were trying to represent in the Everest ride, but also just in terms of architecture, recovering actual artifacts that are used throughout the land, including in the queue for Everest. Um, that research trip yielded like such a successful result because when you go around, you feel like you're there. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
right, right. And they were over there for a pretty substantial amount of time. The people the Imagineers that went into this, right? Like it wasn't a few days.
Yeah, it sounded pretty involved to me. I'm sure it being so intricate there now, it seems like it must have been a really thorough kind of deep dive into the culture that they were trying to unearth. And that really comes through in things like the designs that hang on the flags and the weathering of everything to make it feel extremely old and the
Yeah,
way that it's weathered. Like, there's even things from what I've read accounted for, like um, what types of plants cause what type of weathering on the buildings around them and that
wow,
sort of thing. What moss covers what things, what
right,
all of the things that we kind of would never even
right.
begin to think about are all taken into account for these recreations and fabrications that you see all around the Asia Pavilion. So it is very impressive. I also love the audio over there. It's very like it's almost serene. It's not quite as hit you over the head as it is in other lands.
Yeah,
But I think that adds to its charm. It's got a lot of instruments that you typically find in Eastern music that you don't always find in Western music. So hearing it, it automatically places your brain there, kind of a smart way, which I
yeah,
really enjoy. I also, when you're walking into the land, and Everest is kind of across the water from you. One of my favorite details is that there's this shrine there at the end, and if you line it up with Everest, it's the same shape, which
Oh,
is really
really?
cool if you like look at it from the right
Coming from
perspective.
which direction?
Not coming from
Dino.
Dino Land.
Okay, got it.
The opposite.
Word.
The
Okay.
way the Lord intended.
Oh, you think? I always go that other way.
No strong opinions. I actually really like the bridge that connects Dino Land and Asia. It's
Me
a
too.
big, like, turquoise structure, and you can get some really cool pictures with Everest on there. Sometimes they have a PhotoPass photographer out there that'll tell you to shiver like you're cold, and then they'll put snow on there. It's a cute little PhotoPass.
Another place to get a good picture of Everest, but not with a PhotoPass, would be at the seating area at Flame Tree Barbecue.
Yes.
Just a tip. If you go down there, a lot of times there's like nobody back there.
Right.
The seating area for Flame Tree Barbecue is huge. Like you walk down and you see some tables, but if you keep walking, it keeps going. There's little like segments of tables, and some of them are just sitting on the side of that water.
Right. Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the attractions in this land? Obviously, you've got Expedition Everest.
Yeah.
Is the main one.
Right.
But we've also got in here, surely other things. Oh, the bird show. It used to be called Up a Great Bird Adventure. Now I believe it's called Feathered Friends or something.
I don't know.
It used to be called Tales of Wonder. That was the name it had for years when I was growing up. But whether or not that attraction is a home run, it can certainly be spoken about in this conversation in regards to the incredible show building.
Sure,
it's
absolutely.
So beautiful over there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's this huge covered outdoor arena, and the set is, it's kind of looks like a ruin or whatever. But honestly, just everywhere you look, it's covered in these huge, strips of fabric that really place it.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
Yeah, it really speaks
I
for
would definitely
itself.
be hanging out over there if they didn't have birds.
Right, right. The murals,
they make me nervous.
There are painted murals all over the theater as well that are really beautiful. I'm just trying to think of the elements that stand out to me.
Right.
I don't wander over there very often because I'm not watching that awful bird show. But otherwise, it is a beautiful thing.
You've been to it though, right?
Oh yeah.
See, like I haven't even been to it because birds make me nervous.
Right, sure.
I find them unpredictable.
Mischievous.
Yeah.
There's also Kelly River Rapids.
Yes.
Is part of this situation.
And that is also very well themed and with a big backstory.
In my opinion, that is such a cool thing to exist because it is such a large scale attraction.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not what people think of when they think of Disney rides, because it's just that typical water raft situation. They're maybe not paying as much thought to,
with a big backstory though. I mean, at least Disney, it's Disney,
it's backstory, it's plot of land. Right.
To me.
It's definitely elevated to that Disney storytelling level. And there's a cool kind of little like subplot about conservation in there.
That's what I mean.
I mean, considering the effects in the show and the settings, I will say the queue is outdoors, which is awful, but it is beautiful. There
are some parts that are like kind of indoor, covered's the right word.
Right.
There you go. Very themed also.
Right. And then the Tiger Trail is here in Asia, and that's got some beautiful theming as well. It looks like temple ruins.
That's called the Jungle Trek, right?
Yes, the Jungle Trek.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite. I would say that's probably my favorite enclosure at Animal Kingdom.
That's the only one that I really will do. Like where I'll want to go, like walk around there and go see the tiger and like see the different stuff they've got going on back there.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But again, there's a bird section that I'll just skip. You can just skip it.
Yeah, and I do.
Yeah.
I also love that they pump a whole bunch of mist in there, so it's nice and refreshing.
Yeah.
Should we talk about food and beverage? There's an ice cream truck over here.
Okay.
That it's painted beautifully.
Is that the first thing you thought of, the ice cream truck? I guess it's...
Well, if you're
it helps with the immersion,
if you're coming the way that I am imagining you coming into Asia, which is not the Dailand USA way, it's the other way. it's one of the first things you see
Okay.
is this big painted truck.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Oh, I
kind of
think all of those, like, there's a few of food carts
like
and trucks
food.
and
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
and yeah, they didn't skimp on the details or the immersion with those things either.
exactly. And I think that's why this ended up so high on my list, is because even little
Yeah.
things like that, ice cream trucks,
Right.
are like these beautiful
Right.
works of art.
Right.
That's really cool.
Yeah, they've got Yak and Yeti is back there.
Sure.
I love Yak and Yeti. It's my favorite restaurant in Animal Kingdom as of right now. I've tried most of them.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not true. I also like the Satuli. Am I pronouncing it
I
right?
think so.
All right. Anyway, Yak and Yeti's very good. It's my favorite sit-down restaurant in Animal Kingdom as of right
Nice.
now. And it's not owned by Disney, but it is very themed and immersive in there.
Yes.
Maybe not to the extent of something like, Space 220 or whatever, but or even Satuli.
In my opinion, when you're stacking up these the theming in here, I think how culturally authentic it is where the magic comes from in this one, as opposed to the grandeur of a space hangar bay, or
Sure.
some of the other examples. And this one,
But they could. I mean, I'm not saying they should have, but would have been ways to be culturally correct, authentic,
Sure.
but still have stepped up like, you could have screens where it looks like animals are in the room with you. You know what I mean? That would be really extra. Then it would be like another level, but I'm just saying.
Yes, I get what you mean. I think it's a great. I think in terms of the way that they're folding the theming of the land into food and beverage, I think they were smart to do Yak and Yeti as a little bit of kind of a low key local dining hall is
Yeah.
the vibe. You know what I mean? It's almost like the Asian historical equivalent of like the Outlet Mall food court or
Sure.
something is like the vibe.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of wacky and fun.
Yeah, it is kind of wacky and fun, and 2 stories, which is a little weird for a restaurant, but
yes, especially for the kind of like restaurant that it is,
Yeah.
to have 2 stories. I always think that when we're in Columbia Harbor House in Magic Kingdom,
Yeah,
I'm like,
I
why
agree.
is this 2 stories? I'm not complaining.
Yeah,
I love that it's 2 stories. It's just kind of funny.
yeah, it's nice that they've got the room to seat more people. The food is like Asian fusion there, and if you haven't heard me say this on another episode where we talked about restaurants, I would highly recommend the ahi nachos. It's hard to explain. Very good.
I have not gotten around to these, but I've heard you talk about them
They're
a few times now, and it makes me really want to try them.
Yeah, and it's not just me. It's like this is the thing everybody says to try there.
Well, that means I'm ordering it.
Really?
No.
He doesn't like a lot of seafood.
I don't, but I mean,
will you try it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I will try.
You are adventurous.
Almost any.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever. Maybe I'll really like it.
They're so good.
And then it could be my favorite seafood.
I wonder if you could get it with something other than ahi.
I would take it with ahi. I want the experience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to try it all.
It doesn't taste seafoody.
Right. That honestly, that makes a difference, because
is that one of those annoying things people say to you?
No, because I know what they mean. Like there is just some fish that is so like rank and fishy, and I as someone who didn't grow up with a lot of seafood, which is what it is. I like to know ahead of time if I should be preparing myself for deep sea level.
Yeah.
We got this from the ocean and squeezed it onto your plate type of.
Well, this is like a probably super fresh, but not fishy.
Oh, yes. Well, you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean.
Yeah. I look forward to trying it.
We should do it soon.
Yeah, we'll make a TikTok or something.
Okay.
All right. Do you mind if I move us to another place in Animal Kingdom?
No, go ahead.
I'm talking about Africa.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Did you put Africa on yours?
No.
I'm so glad we get to talk about it.
Okay.
I love the Africa section of the park. It has no shade, so that is the worst thing about it.
That is the worst thing about it. It makes it hard to hang out there for me.
It is.
I always am like, I'm going to keep going to Asia.
Asia's also kind of a little bit that way, though. There's not a ton. I mean, honestly, it's just the main stretch if you're walking to Everest,
Yeah.
that's just the worst because it's uncovered. But there is a lot of space where you can kind of dart around in the shade if you're spending a lot of time in Asia. Also, I did want to say about Asia, back in that lagoon, they used to have that kite show, which obviously wasn't
It was there for such a short amount of time. I didn't even get to see it.
right. But it would, I love the energy of Everest moving and you can hear the screams and stuff. I think
Yeah.
that's all really cool atmospheric stuff for the land.
Yeah.
But I would love if they could add some more motion into this land somehow, because sometimes it just feels like it's missing a little bit of movement for me, in my opinion, as opposed to some other lands in Animal Kingdom where it feels like there's a lot of things for you to interact with or that are kind of moving around. I liked the idea of like you're walking by and the roller coaster is happening and there's you know, all the kites going by. That's cool.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I don't want the kite show back. But like I feel like it would be cool to have some type of something else going on. I like the idea of
I liked
the
the show before the kite show.
Rivers of Light, the
Yeah.
nighttime show?
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool for nighttime.
Yeah,
I never
there were lots
even
of
got to
colorful
see it.
lights. It was very pretty. I mean, I know people want fireworks. They can't do fireworks in Animal Kingdom because of the animals.
I don't want fireworks in Animal Kingdom anyway. Everybody get out.
Yeah, but I feel like they could do something like the and this it was kind of like this, but like the colors one at Disneyland.
Oh, World of Color?
Yeah.
Mm.
In World of Color, they're like shooting up water and projecting and yeah, it's
right.
Cool.
I love a water show like that.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love water as a screen?
Yeah.
It when I was a kid, I was like, oh my gosh, incredible.
Right.
But even now, I'm like, well, that's just fun. It's whimsical. You
yeah,
feel
as
the
long
water.
as it's working.
Oh yeah.
When the wind is up, it's a little crazy.
It gets iffy. It gets iffy over there.
Iffy.
Africa, which is where we were before.
Right.
It's a smaller land compared to some of the other lands in Animal Kingdom.
I mean, probably not technically if you include the whole
exactly the safari.
Yeah.
Right. But the actual like land you can walk around. Don't get out of your Jeep. You can't walk around the safari. The actual land you can walk around in Africa. It's, you know, pretty minimal. It's like a town square.
Sure.
Is kind of the vibe in there. But
where the performers are.
Right. Well, I would say that's kind of the main.
That's your draw.
That's where you're walking in, is to that baobab tree that the safari is sitting underneath, the weenie. Disney calls all those things weenies. The things that you're supposed to walk to. So like the castle.
Really? That's
the Chinese theater.
Not
Spaceship
magical.
Earth. Yeah. Well, hot dog.
Yeah.
You know. I love that there's a stage in the middle of the square.
Yeah.
And
they use it all the time.
They use it as I feel like every time I'm walking by there.
For real. I'm not sure I've ever not seen somebody doing something.
Yeah, live bands, dancing, drum circles, everything's happening.
And that's really something that's been taken away from a lot of places in Disney. So it's very cool that it's still there.
Yeah, I feel like it's the heartbeat of the land. I feel like Africa, when you think of it, the performing arts aspects of the culture are some of the most recognizable, parts. So, of course, now that Festival of the Lion King is located in Africa as well,
right,
it really helps to tell a full story in the land because you feel the like cultural arts happening all around you. It's kind of magical in the Disney way.
Right.
Also, the safari is back here, which is when Animal Kingdom opened, that was their e-ticket experience. You know, it was their big draw, like the tram tour was for MGM.
It still has a long line a lot of the time.
It's definitely one of the parks, if not the park's signature attraction. You know what I mean? It really encapsulates the essence of Animal Kingdom.
Right. It's not like the reason I go. It's not something I go to every time, although we do like it a lot. I like that it's a different thing every time you go.
I think everyone who goes to Disney World a lot just gets so used to the fact that there's a world-class safari, including me, because like we don't go on it a lot, but when I do ride it, I remember it. It is so impressive.
Yeah. It just takes a lot of time. You just have to be ready for that. Because even without the line, it's like a 20-plus minute ride.
Right. Yeah, it
And it
is.
can be as long as it needs to be, because if an animal stops in front of you or whatever, you're stopped.
But that
That's
on
what's amazing.
all of that like is the spirit of Animal Kingdom.
Right.
Obviously, I don't think that. Although I will say something I do wish is that maybe they had kept a little bit more of the conservation narrative
Story. I
alive
do
in
too.
that, because I think it used to be a really
More interesting.
unique and important facet of
Hmm.
Animal Kingdom opposed to the other parks, and they kind of just gave up on it.
Yeah, I can't imagine why they stopped doing that. They had a whole story with, was it an animatronic
Yes,
too,
big
right?
red and little red,
Yeah. Okay.
mother and child elephants,
Right.
and they were on the run from poachers. You are also on the run from poachers in the original version of this ride.
Hmm.
The storyline, I believe, don't quote me on this 100%, but if my memory serves me right, Disney got guest feedback that it was too intense for younger riders, so they toned down the
There
experience
was like a
quite a bit.
gunshot or something, huh?
Yeah,
But like on Jungle Cruise,
yeah.
I'm just saying, like it's like I okay.
I would have loved to see those elements stay, because I
Yeah.
think they obviously
Did
they
you experience it? You
yeah,
did, right?
I
Yeah.
experienced the safari when the bridge was working,
Yeah.
when Big Red and Little Red were. The attraction has kind of changed since I was a kid,
Yeah. It's just seeing animals now.
Now, yeah, now it's just seeing. There's much less of a story at all.
Uh-huh.
They also used to interact with somebody on their walkie a little
Yeah.
bit
It
more.
was part of the story.
It was
Hmm.
like, if you guys remember Jaws, the ride at Universal, where
Yeah.
your boat tour guide used to communicate with their dispatcher about seeing a shark in the water.
Right, right. And then your tour guide on this one like goes after the poacher, right?
Right. They make the effort that they're going to save the elephant. They're going to,
Yeah.
evade the poachers and go on this adventure with you. And they're like, you cool with that? And everyone's like, yeah. There also used to be this cool.
Except for some people, apparently.
Oh, except for your whiny little 5-year-old. No, I'm just kidding. I can see how gunshots are scary. But they're,
Me too, but they were in multiple rides back then, and
yeah.
they're still like Jungle Cruise is still in. They did Gunshot in Great Movie Ride.
Mhm. Oh, yeah.
Just
Oh, yeah. There used to be so many more. They used to have shootouts in Frontierland.
yeah,
So, like, their guns were never a thing for Disney. But
yeah. Anyway,
yeah. Anyway, the safari is not all it's got. Festival of the Lion King's not all it has. It's also one of my favorite things about Africa is the shops in there.
yeah,
Because toward the back end, back where Rafiki's Planet Watch and
there's the candy shop.
yes, there's the candy shop, and Kilimanjaro safaris are. There's the candy shop, and there's also they sell things that you might imagine to be things that you would buy if you were in a tourist town in Africa.
They sell things that are not Disney.
Drums, walking sticks, wooden carvings of
Mm-hmm.
animals for your house,
Yeah,
jewelry, all this
art. Yeah,
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 art, yeah, all this kind of like handmade, theoretically, stuff that you kind of buy. And I just love that it's stuff that you can't buy at the main gift
Do
shop
you
anywhere,
think it's not handmade?
I don't know for sure.
Here's why I'm asking, because at the front of Animal Kingdom, not in Africa, at the very front, like those two big stores, on the sides of those big stores, there are people outside selling stuff. And I'm pretty sure that one of them, unless this was a bit, was saying that this is like her business.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't work for Disney. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like a vendor
Yeah.
kind of situation.
Yeah.
I actually don't for sure know anything about whether or not those are vendors, but I know that you can buy them on your vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that they're unique to the Africa section.
Yeah.
That's pretty nifty.
And then Africa also has Tusker House, which is the
Yeah.
character buffet that's kind of like Boma. So it's a African themed, African inspired food, but not entirely, because they want to have some stuff for pickier eaters or children. So there are like
less wild
chicken nuggets
options
and stuff.
Yeah.
But then they've got some authentic African dishes, and the characters come around and see you at your table dressed in like safari gear.
Yeah.
Way cute.
Very cute. I love that. I think the safari gear is so iconic to Animal Kingdom.
Yeah, I do too.
And then Harambe Market.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one of these like open marketplace type of situations. They have kiosks there, right? Like
Yeah.
counters
I
where you
have
can buy your
not been
food.
back there that much because it's
Mm.
like I I don't it's I feel like it's off the beaten path a bit.
It is.
You know what? Kind of a lot of this stuff is. I don't think you would know Tusker House was where it was unless you had reservations. It's behind a bar.
Yes. So it does make you feel a little bit it does make you feel like it might be. This is one of the parks where I found I've only recently really gotten the layout down
Yeah.
of Animal Kingdom. I feel like you could go a bunch of times and still not entirely be sure what exactly is around all of the nooks and crannies of the park. But I think that like the intentional laying out of the park for you to be able to feel lost in it is kind of nice. But I do see how it can be kind of inconvenient for maybe first time people visiting the park.
It's easy to get lost back
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Even more so, I would say, than some parts of Hollywood studios that feel like you don't know where you're going. They're in a
Right.
dead end. It's a circle. There, there's
Yeah.
stuff like that in Hollywood studios.
I wonder why they stopped doing the hub and spoke.
For Animal Kingdom is a little hub and spoke, but you can
You
see
don't. It doesn't go out from the tree though.
no, not
If it
really.
did, I feel like it would
The
be.
only thing that
It's a
kind of does is
circle.
Dino Land. You
Yeah.
can like bridge out as if it were Adventureland, but everything else is kind of just this. That I think the reasoning for that in Animal Kingdom is because you're supposedly taking this journey on foot, where the kind of that's not too different from Hub and Spoke, where the little icons of the lands draw you into the land. I don't know the exact reason that Animal Kingdom is not hub and spoke, but I can't help but wonder if it has to do with the idea of being lost. You know
Yeah.
what I
Oh,
mean?
you think that might be intentional? I
Yeah,
get that. I
like
get
the
that.
lack of, they knew that everything else was kind of hub and spoke, while Hollywood Studios is some
Not anymore.
flat tire and
Was it
something.
at one point?
No, it's
No.
never really been hub and spoke. It's
Yeah.
always been kind of a weird
And
loop.
now Epcot isn't either, but I think it was.
Right, but Animal Kingdom, it just feels a little bit more like, oh, you gotta cross a bridge to get here, and you're getting lost in the journey of it all, is what it feels like to me, and maybe that's the only thing that sticks out in my mind is could be the reason for the layout being the way it is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It is a little treacherous. You might get a little lost.
You might. It's possible.
Yeah, for
Which
sure.
does make it hard when they've got you on when you're on Genie Plus and you've got reservations and you're like, oh, I need to get here, I need to get here, I need to get here.
Right.
But if you've got time to take your time, then getting lost isn't a bad thing here.
Right. Absolutely not. But yeah, if you've got stuff to go to, then or if this is your one Animal Kingdom day or
Right.
half day,
Half
some
day.
of you people.
I think a lot of people.
A lot of people. Yeah. That's oh, and should we talk about Festival of the Lion King? Festival of the Lion King is incredible.
Oh yeah.
Do you like Festival of the Lion King?
I do. I love the Tumble Monkeys. I don't think
yeah.
I probably don't love it as much as you. I'm always a little worried about getting called out, but
well, they mostly just pick on children.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And also you have to volunteer to do it. They don't ever just
Oh, really?
Unless you're in the front row, I think. Have you ever sat in the front row?
No, of course not.
I one time did one of the noises when I was a kid.
Oh, fun.
At the beginning of the show.
See, I also have a kid that doesn't want to be called out, so I've got to worry about that too.
I think if you're far back, you have to volunteer, which is good.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's all That's the model.
But if you're in the
prefer.
front,
well, if you're in the front,
it's on you.
You can really easily get to the stage, so they're pulling you right up.
But I do like the show. It's a good show.
It's wonderful. It's like a Broadway style, kind of
variety act.
That's the perfect way to describe it. Variety act. It's almost like Lion King's themed Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah,
a little bit
for
is
real.
The vibe, but it's also told through the lens of this African storytelling situation.
Yeah.
Live vocals, acrobatics,
impressive,
aerial routines.
Yeah.
Fire throwing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this show's got everything.
Yeah.
Kids in a parade.
Right.
At the end. Floats from a Lion King parade for Disneyland.
Yeah. Wild.
That we have. Yeah, it's one of my favorite entertainment offerings at Walt Disney World. It is worth the trip back to Africa just to see Festival of the Lion King, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I love it. And your kids will love it too, because the costumes are really beautiful.
Hmm.
And if they get the chance to go participate in the show, which is one
If
of
they
the
like
big
that.
draws,
Yeah.
if your kid is into that, then I
I
think
think most
that
are,
can
right?
really be like a once in a lifetime kind of
Yeah.
memory. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, I love that. All right, Morgan,
I think that covers Africa.
are we out of Africa?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Um, my next one, I have three. I have three left. What do you have, two?
I've, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go with Toy Story.
Oh,
Toy
this
Story Land. Is it on your list?
no. I'm glad we get to talk about it though, because it almost was.
Yeah, yeah. For me, you see Woody, and it's like you get shrunk down to being toy size, and they
Hmm.
really like with a lot of these other ones, they went all out with the details, um, to the giant footprints in the concrete that make it seem like you're little,
Hmm. Cute.
to all of the toys and cards and toy pieces all around you that make it seem like you're toy size.
Yeah.
I love how extra it is. I love the
Hmm.
colors. I love the lights. And I feel like, and maybe this is just like true of every generation, but I'm always like, oh, these are like my toys. You know what I mean? They're like,
Yes.
or, or is that, did everybody, are these just so classic that everybody has had exposure to them? Maybe.
I think it's a little bit of both because some of the stuff like Lincoln Logs and stuff, obviously those are timeless,
Uh-huh.
every generation type of toys. But then there's some stuff that pops around and I feel like it's like every now and then you'll see like a handheld game or something from back then and I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah.
Or
Well, the
those
first movie came out in 1995. So if
right.
you were a kid in the 90s, yeah.
That in the I don't know if this is still part of the queue, but in Toy Story Mania, oh it is. There was one of those things that you put the circular disc
Yeah,
into.
yeah. The viewfinder thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that strikes me as very
90s or before?
I
See, I
guess
don't even know. I had one.
yeah, but I had one too
But
in the
like you said about
90s.
Lincoln
So maybe
Logs,
I have the same
it could have
confusion
been,
you do.
yeah,
I
it could
don't
have been a
know.
hand me down for all I know. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I remember my dad bought us Rock'em Sock'em robots one
Oh,
year,
yeah.
but he
Those are
bought them.
80s.
Yeah, he bought them for us because he had them when he was a kid.
Ah.
So that, I think that happens a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I
Must.
mean? So anyway,
Things like Etch a Sketch,
yeah,
like timeless stuff.
yeah,
Ugh. But yeah, I love seeing all the different toys. And it
yeah,
is so fun to be like, oh my gosh, I had that
right.
because, you can all share kind of an experience.
This is a good land to check out during the day and at night. At night, it's got the like Christmas lights, which
Yeah.
are awesome.
Those big beautiful Christmas lights are definitely a draw.
All year, all year. This is
Yeah.
it. They're not like meant to be Christmas lights. They're just the lights that the toys are using, I guess.
Well, Andy in his backyard in my brain found the Christmas lights
Yeah,
and is using them as like
right.
decoration.
Sure.
They're not supposed to be Christmassy, but
Right.
they definitely are like the multicolored bulb
The
Christmas
big
lights that you
fat
see.
ones.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those are
yeah.
my favorite because they remind me of like being a kid and
Yes.
yeah.
And also there's a lot in this land that okay, to its detriment, I hate being in here during the day because the sun is unbearable. I also feel like the this is where sometimes I am absolutely shoulder to shoulder with human beings. I feel like it can get like I don't know if it's bottlenecked or narrow or whatever,
It does seem a little narrow
but
back there.
sometimes, oh my gosh, it can be so
And I
full back
think
there.
to its benefit and detriment, they've got a lot of times they'll have some sort of character along the side.
Uh-huh.
So whether it's Woody and Jesse and people are lined up to meet them, or it's the army men just kind of walking around
Playing games and stuff.
Yeah, that's a great thing and I love it, but it does add to the crowd
Yes.
in this area, and it's a small area.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But you cannot say you don't feel like you're you're feeling the way you're meant to feel.
Yes, it is definitely. I mean, we're talking about immersion here. And there is a lot that makes me feel incredibly immersed. I think they are able to get away with a lot because toys is such a it's okay that all of the toys that you see in my mind like Jesse and Rex and Woody are all static figures. They don't move at
Yeah.
all because they're toys. You
Right.
know what I mean? It's
Right.
fine.
Yeah.
So like,
Good point.
it works out
Yeah.
neatly and nicely. And there's a new restaurant over there.
There is. I can't wait.
Woody's Roundup.
Roundup barbecue.
Barbecue. I love barbecue.
I was looking for a reservation because my parents are coming next week, and but we're not. They were just here, and we went to the parks. So this time we're just gonna do like Disney Springs and like some hotel hopping.
Nice.
But so I was looking for a reservation, and that one kept coming up, and I was like, "What's happening? This should be hard, like impossible to get."
You would think.
Weird.
Well,
anyway,
hey.
I cannot wait to try it.
Yeah, I mean, me neither. I like Toy Story as a theme a lot.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah.
I'll be pretty happy. At night though, this land is so gorgeous.
Yes.
Because and also just walking through the Christmas lights, the Green Army Men, Slinky's going.
Yeah.
Fun.
The Slinky
so
ride.
much to see.
The Slinky ride adds so much to this land. In addition to being a really good ride, my favorite ride of the Toy Story rides, is it your favorite?
What are my options?
Toy Story Mania,
right?
Slinky Dog Dash, and then Alien Swirling Saucer.
Well, it's a no-brainer for me. I like Toy Story. Should I even go as far? Toy Story Mania is not my favorite.
Mm-hmm. Did you play a lot of video games when you were a kid?
I did. For me, it's just more of like I prefer like practical effects in most stuff.
Oh, and it's screens,
so the fact that it's all screens.
So many practical effects in the queue, around the screen.
The queue is absolutely my favorite part.
The queue, for real.
It's better for me than the ride. It's the same for me as riding Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. The actual Millennium Falcon is so impressive.
Yeah.
The queue is so fun. The pre-show is so fun.
Mm-hmm.
I love everything.
But when you get to the video game part, you're like, okay.
It's a screen.
Yeah.
So like, girl, you know, it is what it is. I do really appreciate that they did add practical effects all around.
Yeah, when you're going from screen to screen, you're seeing all these practical set, I guess.
But for me, Slinky Dog is really the thing. Not only does it have an animatronic,
it does,
and a good one, a
really good one,
really engaging one.
I think this one made my list of top animatronics, or honorable mention at least.
Right. And although the queue for Toy Story Mania does have Mr. Potato Head, which also was on the its own kind of draw. Yeah, something really cool about Toy Story Land is they got really good animatronics.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, what I was gonna say though is that there are things about this land that are core to like the identity of Hollywood Studios. Like when we were growing up, we would go to the Honey I Shrunk the Kids playground.
Yeah.
Where everything, you were supposed to be small.
Yeah.
And it is larger than life.
Right.
And then if it was Christmas time, we would go see the Christmas lights being strung up. So like, I don't know. There's just something about all of those things coming together that I'm like, oh, well, at least it kind of like is tied into
it kind of
feel.
Gives
like
a nod.
It feels the vibes.
See,
anyway.
I didn't even really put that together.
Well, I don't know if it's even, a direct.
Meant to.
Yeah. But to me, it comforts me that like those elements are still somewhere.
Right. But yeah, of those three rides, I like Slinky Dog Dash. I think it's a really fun ride.
Yes.
But also it just adds so much to the ambiance of the entire land.
Mm-hmm.
And then Toy Story Mania, like you said, the queue itself, like I could spend a long time in there looking at all of the different toys from my childhood.
Yeah.
And then Alien Swirling Saucers, I don't love that. But
yeah.
It's there. I'm sure little kids like it.
Yes, and it's a people eater, supposedly.
The bathrooms over there are kind of cute too. And you like the quick serve.
Oh, yeah. Woody's Lunchbox.
Yeah.
A lot of people like it.
Yeah,
It's definitely up there.
I just have only tried it once, and that one time it was like, meh.
What did you have?
I don't remember. It was like when it first opened.
Here's what people like from there. The tachos are like loaded nachos, but on tater tots.
Yeah. Are they $12 or something insane?
They're like $8.50 or something.
Okay.
But that's basically the same you would pay for if you go to Animal Kingdom and you get those buffalo chicken nachos on the way into Dinoland.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I haven't tried that either.
Oh, those are good too.
Are they on tater tots?
They're pretty good. No. Those are just nachos.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying it's a similar price point. And then also there you can get a Monte Cristo sandwich.
Oh yeah, I want to try that.
One of the only places in Disney World.
And they must have added that at some point because that definitely was not on the menu when I went.
Oh no!
But that was like I said, that could have been when Toy Story first opened. I love a Monte Cristo, whatever. I like the one in Disneyland. There's one by Pirates that you can get.
Mm. And then they've got like a Pop Tart type of thing, but
Yeah,
it's like a gourmet.
that I do think we tried.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
It's
So
fine. I'm not
options.
saying it's not good. It just wasn't like, oh, I've got to go back and get this Pop Tart every time we go.
Yeah.
This $10 Pop Tart.
And honestly, I'm so rarely going over there because there is extremely limited seating and
And it's
there's
all outside.
no shade.
Oh,
So
why?
who's
I get it. I guess I get it in the theme, which is what we're talking about right now. But like,
can Andy have some cocktail umbrellas that he stole from the kitchen or
yeah,
something?
fans.
Yeah. You know what's so fun to play with? Fans. Big old wind machine.
Yeah. All right. So how many do you have left?
I believe I have 3 left.
Okay. Well, then you do your 2 of ours are going to be the same.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you know which 2 that do you have an idea of which one is I wouldn't have thought to put on my list?
Yeah.
Great. Do that one.
Sure. I cheated and I combined 2 because I think
That's how he knew I wouldn't have it on my
basically
list.
the same. Yeah. Is the Hollywood Boulevard, Sunset Boulevard section of Hollywood Studios.
I thought about this and I don't know. I don't immersed in what?
Immersed in old Hollywood.
All right. I'll let you try to sell this one to me.
Okay. So
you gave me a chance with dinosaurs.
Well, actually, I'm a little. I don't think I even understand what you're not finding immersive. What don't you? What don't
well,
you
there's
feel
Beauty
immersive?
and the Beast on the right, and and the so you're talking about like going down the street, right?
Yeah.
And then I guess I will for sure give you the Hollywood Tower Hotel and the billboards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then Beauty and the Beast and Phantasmic and the not great restaurants there, and then a giant guitar.
Yeah. I actually find all of that to be super what it's supposed to be.
Okay.
And maybe you're right. Okay, now that I understand the perspective you're coming from, maybe I could try to sell it to you a little bit.
Okay.
So, key to this whole idea of Hollywood studios is trying to create memorable impressions of California. So here we are walking down Hollywood Boulevard with these beautiful period Art Deco style, Art Nouveau style facades and buildings that you're walking down, and they're beautiful. A lot of detail going on in the windows that's really cool to catch as well, similar to like a Main Street type of thing, but it's a bunch of different shops, which is really, I think, super fun over there. And then obviously you're walking toward this larger than life full scale recreation of the Grauman's Chinese Theater, which is like inch to inch accurate to the original, which is really awesome in terms of the actual building itself, not the inside, because there's a ride in there, folks, and it's called Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway now.
Like it or not.
Something I will say that detracts from the immersion of this land is the huge dump area that you get to right at the end of Hollywood Boulevard. That's just this expansive open space where people just wander around and look at their map. Yeah. Like the area behind Hollywood Boulevard, in front of the great movie, in front of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, where that awful stage used to be, where they would have that terrible Star Wars show that absolutely disrupted every vacation on the face of the planet. That, I would say, is kind of the dead zone of this area, but otherwise, you get this gorgeous soundtrack that has all of these standards, jazz, Broadway, and really encapsulates the feeling of old Hollywood. And then as you turn down Sunset Boulevard, you get a little bit more of an array of different aesthetics that invoke Hollywood. So obviously you've got Carthay Circle and all those things on Hollywood Boulevard that are actual, and the Brown Derby and all that stuff, that are actual recreations to some scale of Hollywood landmarks. But if you go down Sunset Boulevard, you get a little bit of that because the Beauty and the Beast show is in a building that is directly inspired architecturally by the Hollywood Bowl in Hollywood Hills, which is this beautiful, historic, everybody knows about the Hollywood Bowl.
Sure.
Universal even has a stage over there that's inspired by the Hollywood Bowl. And then you've got this gorgeous period tower. Not everybody, I think, is awestruck when you see the Tower of Terror for the first time because it's
Yeah.
just so incredibly imposing in its own way, but also the scale and the detail and the architecture is so elaborate that it really invokes the style. And then when you turn to your left, you get a sample of what they called California architecture, which was um, this like larger than life recreating shapes and objects and characters using architecture. Gertie the dinosaur over in Echo Lake is also an example of this. Um, but um, things like buildings made that are meant to look like rocket ships and stuff like that had a huge boom in California, moving into the 70s and 80s. That kind of is almost represented in Rock and Roller Coaster because you've got this huge red Stratocaster guitar right out
Yeah.
front of it that really draws you into it. And then obviously you've got the hanging upside down car. Now, all of that I would say is a step away from like the old Hollywood vibes of everything, but it's also very Hollywood in terms of it is a record label. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're walking into this story about this. So you've got live entertainment at the Hollywood Bowl on that side. You've got a California record label, a key part of Hollywood at the end. And then you've got Hollywood cinema represented on the screen in Tower of Terror. And it all makes for, in my mind, especially around Christmas time.
Yeah.
Because they really use the vintage aesthetic to their advantage on Sunset Boulevard during Christmas because it really lends itself to being a scene out of, It's a Wonderful Life or something.
Yeah.
With the snow falling down and the huge buildings around you, those super tall palm trees everywhere.
I love those palm trees.
Yeah, it just puts you right in the space you're supposed to be to experience. Now, I will say this is not as high on my list of other things because of some of the things you mentioned.
Right.
Food and beverage incorporation here, honestly, kind of abysmal.
Yeah.
There are so many opportunities.
For real.
So for them to... Now, I feel like they execute the idea of Hollywood as food and beverage a little bit better on the Echo Lake side of things between spaces like Sci-Fi. What prime time.
All
like
even Hollywood and Vine
a little bit more than what's going on. I would say much more in terms of style.
Much more than the ones that are.
We're specifically talking about Catalina Eddie's, Rosie's All American, those like food kiosks that make up that little quick serve stretch of things on the left-hand side of Sunset Boulevard if you're looking at the Tower of Terror.
Yeah, I think that this is where the ball got dropped a little.
Yeah, I definitely think that there are major opportunities for quality upgrades and maybe even just imagination upgrades to what's going on in there, because I don't mind the idea of it's made to look like the Anaheim produce market or something. It's got the setting has a real world inspiration, but the actual waiting in the sun to order your food, getting your $15 bad, practically microwave
sitting
pizza,
outside to eat it.
Right. Now, all of that, in my opinion, all a huge opportunity. But it is also, in my opinion, the only way that this land totally fails at being immersive. Everything else I find to be pretty successful.
Okay. Yeah. I get what you're saying now, and I agree I still think the Rock and Roller Coaster is a bit of a stretch, although it does make sense. Super stretch.
Super stretch. I think that does stand out a little bit as like you can tell that was really added later.
Yeah.
If you were to tell me that Tower of Terror had been at Hollywood Studios the whole time, I may have believed you just because it is so ornately done. It is so, it is so classic Disney in its scale and ambition. But Rock and Roller Coaster definitely feels like it has been inserted into the premise of Sunset Boulevard and Hollywood Studios.
Right. But theming, you're right, it does make sense. You know what I mean? Being a music studio. And I do think the whole entrance to Hollywood Studios with the Art Deco
Mm-hmm.
and all of that. The huge palm trees that are in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Like, so all of that really adds to the immersiveness of that entire park.
Yes, and the more that you know about Hollywood or California is honestly the more appreciation that you might get from it because you'll recognize some of the landmarks. Like
Mm-hmm.
the even the entrance plaza, that teal and silver art deco is a recreation of like the entrance to a theater in front of the Hollywood Tower Hotel. There are these
That was like a Pan Am thing, actually, I think.
the airplane,
The Here, I'll look it up.
the airline.
Yeah, the airline.
Oh, all right.
But go.
I can't wait to hear about that.
Okay, we'll go on.
But in front of the Hollywood Tower Hotel, they've got these two stone objects. One is like an obelisk, and one is like a gateway. And it's a recreation of the gates to Hollywood Land, which was this concept in the Hollywood Hills that was going to be this ultra exclusive neighborhood that would have armed guards that would keep the neighborhood secure. They never ended up having the armed guards, and the neighborhood was
Ever?
never realized in the way that people kind of thought it might. But the gates to Hollywood Land ended up being kind of a cultural icon of the area anyway, and they were recreated faithfully just to put in front of the Hollywood Tower Hotel, just as kind of a nod to Hollywood architecture in general, which I thought was a really thoughtful detail and something that most people probably wouldn't even pick up on to know how, geographically, architecturally authentic those structures
Yeah,
actually are.
it's quite the story, you know?
Yeah, it's cool that they honed in on something so seemingly benign.
Yeah. This is going to take me longer to find.
Oh, okay. Well, we can always come back.
Yeah, I can always mention it in the next one. Maybe it was a Pan Am Theater or something like that.
Maybe.
Anyway. Okay, so you're on 2 and 1, huh?
Yes.
So, did you, I don't know which, for me, these two are pretty tied.
Yeah, it is pretty close. This is definitely in the post Harry Potter. As we talked about in our last episode, Disney felt some pressure to keep up with the immersive themed experience um, game change that was Harry Potter
Mhm.
in Universal. So the first thing that they did was greenlight Pandora, the World of Avatar,
Mhm.
inspired by James Cameron's Avatar film, which did buku box at the box office.
Yeah.
People were very. Do you remember how surprised people were?